Hey yo, Chris here, and thanks for tuning into the Delta. And welcome to the Power Rankings and Voodoo Wheel video, where we'll be going over the top 6 teams that I think are the 6 best teams, under my opinion, which is never wrong, by the way. And then we do the old Voodoo Wheel spin and see who gets struck with the voodoo prior to the race. As you can tell, it's a little bent right here. My 5-year-old stepped on it. You can't have nothing nice if you have children. But yeah, we'll get right into it. But first of all, like and subscribe to the channel. Helps me out a lot. Helps me know what you guys like and what you guys don't like, so on and so forth. Plus, if you like Formula One content and you want to hear what a new American fan has to say about it, then I'm the guy for you. Anyway, let's get into these top 6 power rankings. And at number 6, I got RB. Haas was in 6th place there prior to today, but they have to be removed from the power rankings. They had a bit of a hot streak, but then they put back-to-back poor races together where they failed to score any points. And I can't confidently keep them here in the power rankings if you're not scoring points, especially if you're at the bottom of the barrel to begin with. So RB will end up taking their spot, and RB has a total of 34 points in the constructors standings, and they've scored 3 points in the last 2 races. And while that's nothing that's too impressive, it's definitely a better performance than Haas, so they get to leapfrog Haas into the 6th place spot. It seems like the 6th place spot is just going to be a revolving door where Haas is going to have a good race and RB doesn't, so RB gets taken out and Haas gets put in, and then RB does well for a couple races and they take back over Haas. I have a feeling like that's what's going to end up happening for the remainder of the season. But then we'll move on to number 5, and I still got Aston Martin. They have 73 total points in the constructors. They still continue to be like the epitome of average. Fernando Alonso placed 8th in Belgium, and Stroll just missed out on points there in 11th. It's hard to tell if this team is taking like a step forward or if it was just a race where they kind of fell in the right spots. We'll see if they can find a way to make some steps in the right direction for the back half of the season. But until we see something a little bit more impressive, I think they will continue to be stuck at the 5th place spot. And at number 4, I have Ferrari. They have a total of 345 points in the constructor standings. Ferrari has been dealing with car performance issues since Spain. They brought in those upgrades. They haven't been really panning out. There's a lot of bouncing and stuff like that. So since Spain, I'd say that they're just not doing well by the Ferrari standard. And whatever success that they do have is kind of more of a testament to the drivers, like extracting every little bit they can out of the car. But to be honest, like I feel like if it's any other driver, if you put any, I don't know, Lance Stroll or Esteban Ocon or Pierre Gasly, if you're putting one of those kind of drivers in that car, they're probably not even finishing in the top 5. The thing that's been kind of causing the problems was the new floor that they installed, and it was, like I said, it was causing a ton of bouncing, which is preventing them from like maximizing the total speed and power that the car is capable of doing. Now, they are planning on trying to eliminate that bouncing problem with some more aerodynamic designs coming to the Dutch Grand Prix, and the hope is that if they can eliminate the bouncing, then they can maximize the performance of the underfloor. But it's going to take multiple impressive performances for me, especially performances that outshine Mercedes, for them to get out of this 4th place spot. It's not going to do well like if the car suddenly is quick, but you're still losing to Mercedes. You're going to have to fix your car, make it, competitive again, and then outshine the teams in front of you. And that's why I think they'll be stuck at the power rankings 4th spot for at least another 2-3 races. I need to see some more. I need to see some promise for you to move up in the ranks. At number 3, I have Mercedes. They have a total of 266 points. George Russell's disqualification from the Belgian Grand Prix was heartbreaking to say the least. They finished 1-2 technically in that race, but obviously you don't get the double podium points. And I think they missed out on an opportunity to climb the power rankings because Max Verstappen wasn't able to find the podium, and obviously Perez was nowhere near it as well. So because of that, I got to keep Mercedes at the 3rd place spot in the power rankings. This race here in the Netherlands is going to be an important one for all the top teams because the performance gap seems to be pretty tight. So if Mercedes can outperform Red Bull this weekend, we may see them climb a spot for the next Power Rankings video. But until then, I gotta keep them at third. I gotta see them, again, just like Ferrari, they have to outshine the team that's in front of them. And right now, that's Red Bull. So at number 2 is Red Bull. They have 408 points in the Constructors' standings. Red Bull is in a very interesting spot. Belgium may not have been the best litmus test for them to see where they're at as a team or as a performance-wise, mainly because Max Verstappen took that 10th-place grid penalty. He was, in theory, the fastest car in qualifying, but did not get to start at the top of the grid. Sergio Perez had a better performance, I guess, finishing in 7th. By no means is that performing at the Red Bull expectations, but it's a little better, right? And much like Ferrari and Mercedes, this weekend's race is of utmost importance for Red Bull because they do not have the ability to just win races anymore off of their car alone. It's not the fastest car and the most powerful car that can do all these things that the rest of the grid can't do. So it will take like great racing from both drivers in combination with a solid strategy from the pit wall for them to reclaim that first place spot in my power rankings. I do think it's possible. I do think this is going to be one of those races where Max Verstappen ends up winning. I do think Perez, after this summer break, will perform better, at least better than 7th. So there's a good chance that if McLaren lays an egg, Mercedes doesn't beat out Red Bull in any way, that Red Bull can get back on top. And talking about that top team, that's obviously then left with McLaren, who has 366 points in the Constructors. And I don't necessarily think they had a great race at Spa. Lando Norris had a bad start, lost multiple positions right from the jump, and then was not able to climb back into the podium positions. However, Oscar Piastri, after Russell's DQ, did finish 2nd, and those are some solid points for the team, and technically more points than Mercedes, more points than Red Bull. So that's why you're holding that number 1 spot. It seems that like that's kind of their saving grace right now, is that at least one of their drivers is finding the podium, and then when the other driver is having the bad race per se, they're still finishing in the P6, P5, P4 range, which is just solid points for a team that's trying to catch Red Bull in the Constructors. Is that enough to hold the number 1 spot in my power rankings? I guess it is if the other teams don't find a way to be more competitive, but we still have 10 races left, and that's plenty of opportunity for Red Bull, Mercedes, and even Ferrari to find a way to overtake McLaren on the track and in my power rankings. So that's what we got going on in the power rankings. Now we'll go on to the Voodoo Wheel, one of my favorite segments, except that it always lands on Ferrari and then I hate it. But you know the deal. I spin the wheel. Whoever it lands on, or whatever it lands on, will cast a voodoo spell on the team for the upcoming race. So let's see who the Voodoo Wheel will cast its spell on for the Dutch Grand Prix. 3, 2, 1. Oh my god, yeah, see? It broke the spinner. Extra voodoo in it. What? Oh god, it went backwards. Never seen that happen. It was going to land on Mercedes, but fate had other options, and it landed on Mechanical Mayhem. Now, that's a very broad choice, because that can affect any of the teams. I think the Voodoo Wheel is kind of tired of losing. It hasn't been having the greatest record as of late. It was started off really solid with like 6 or 7 straight wins, but then kind of cooled off. So Mechanical Mayhem, one of the top 6 teams in my power rankings, will have a mechanical issue. Engine failure, brake issues, you name it. And you know racing. Anything can happen. Anything that makes that car just have to, retire. That's what's going to happen. Who do you think is going to have to retire at the Dutch Grand Prix? Well, let me know in the comments. And until next time, take care, stay safe, and have fun out there. Bye, everybody.